Alright everybody, welcome back to another Dragon Ball Super video here with Kyle Chris. And today we're going to be going over the state of green going into Cross Spirits. So make sure you guys like and subscribe. Let me know what you guys think of the content down below. Let me know if you guys like any of this stuff. I will also leave a link down below to my TCG player. So if there's any card you guys want to buy from any of these videos, I should have a decent amount of them up whenever the set actually drops at the end of this week. So we'll start here with the biggest stuff, which is kind of the context for green. So green has been the worst color in the format. It's no denying that. No one's been playing green. Green's been extremely bad. There's been one green deck that has been essentially played for most of the format. That's it. No other green decks have really been able to be played. They've just lost a lot of value with the previous set hitting the Master Roshi card, which really hurt green decks and how they wanted to play. Now, with blue being more prominent in this next meta, we are going to see a rise in hand destruction, and I think hand destruction is going to come back in a very powerful way. Probably so, kind of when, Charismatic Villain first came out and how hand destruction was kind of being played then. I think we're going to see a bigger jump now in the hand destruction. And Green Cell does have a ton of good staple cards that have already came out, and also that are coming out that really kind of utilize, the powerful parts of green hand destruction. Now, the one counter to this is that even though hand destruction is getting more powerful, Bandai is printing hand destruction silver bullets for every color, which basically means if this card is pitched by a hand destruction ability, it comes into play and draws them a card. So there are some ways to get around hand destruction. So hand destruction is not going to be the prime green deck. I think green decks are just going to be good, but hand destruction is going to come back in some way. And a lot of the card prices right now, excluding Dormant, pretty low. I mean, Dormant's still pretty cheap at the making of this video. I think it's like 20 or 25 bucks, which is not too bad. So breakdown, there have been two green decks that have topped or that just have played well during this meta. One is King Cold, the other one is Cell hand destruction. So you have a green deck, an actual green deck, which is King Cold, and then you have your hand destruction deck, which is Cell. Both kind of operate similar in some senses. Both of them don't have to attack to gain card advantage. One does it through the use of field spells in a unison, while the other one just does it through playing very powerful green cards and make your opponents drop cards. So both have very different win conditions. King Cold has a much bigger hand size. Cell doesn't draw an extensive amount of cards, but also your opponent doesn't have many cards in their hand as well too, so it does have a trade-off there. Now, the upcoming card for the next format that I do think is going to impact the format in a very good way is going to be Videl. I think Boo is going to be a very good deck, but I think Videl has just so many options of ways that it can be played well. First thing, you have the mono green. You have green Skillless. You have green Heroine, lineage stuff with maidens. You have green World Tournament maidens combinations. You then have green yellow. You then have green blue, which I think is a very powerful combination. And we'll go more into that when I go over my deck profile for Videl, because I think green blue is going to be one of the better options for it. But those are really powerful combinations there. And having access to all these different combos. This leader is essentially a green launch that uses Spirit Boost and uses Unisons successfully. And this deck has I think a much more higher window of being able to kill with the Unison. I mean, with the leader, as opposed to launch, which was not so much being able to do that. And also, this leader does use Spirit Boost extremely well. Being able to use the auto to play out skillless cards, not even including the Spirit Boost effects that are actually in green going into the set. Another deck that has some untapped potential going into the next set is going to be Gotenks. Now, Dark Broly Errata, there's people who say the Dark Broly Errata is really good. Some people think it doesn't do anything. Some people thinking there needs to do more. But I do think Gotenks with green just coming back into the fold, I think Gotenks has a chance to be pretty good. Well, the one thing with Gotenks is Gotenks has the ability to really thrive now that we have access to a card called Homicidal Clones, which does kind of make up for the fact that this deck really relied on Dormant on defense. And green decks don't have to rely on Dormant nearly as much anymore. With the Majin Buu negate and with Homicidal Clones, it makes it a little bit easier where you don't need to essentially run 4 Dormants. And then obviously at the time you were running Master Roshi as well. But this deck has spot removal with the 6-drop. It also has deflect and also has dual attack. So you have a way of removing unisons as well as being able to pop a card on board. And drawing 2 cards. And when the card is removed, you get to add back the pieces again so you can play it out again. So it's pretty powerful. Also being able to remove markers from unisons is very, very important. Because there's other cards that came out in set 11 that are green cards that have the ability to do that. So being able to remove unisons very, very easily with this deck, definitely something you should be looking at. So I think this is a very good option for anyone playing green. Something I may visit actually going into the future. We'll see. So some key components from the previous sets that I think are pretty powerful in this current set. We have Great Saiyan 2, Buddying Hero. This is the draft box 6 green card that came out. It was super cheap. It was like $3 or $4. Actually, I think it was cheaper than that. Now it's like $20. You can use it to play out all the skill stuff, and it's really cool. It's cute. But if you're playing Skilless and you're playing Videl, this is one of the options that you can use. Chill the Assailant. This is a card that any green deck should just side, because this is going to be one of our best cards going forward, to being able to remove, basically to have spot removal, especially in yellow matchups. Yellow matchups hurt us with cards like Absolute Annihilation and Bojack. These are cards that force us to kind of play differently, and having a card like this where you can basically just tap 2 and just KO something is extremely powerful. And then the third one is going to be Golden Frieza, Pinnacle of the Clan. This is a card that is double strike deflect. It has the ability to restand, pop a card, and remove a card from your opponent's hand. Now you do have to pop a field spell, but there's a lot of green decks that do play field spells. You have the decks that play the Frieza Healing Pod. You have OG Broly, where if you pop the OG Broly field spell, it just comes back. And then obviously you have King Cold. And then if there's any other decks in the future that are green decks that play field spells, you're going to be able to pop those. And that's also a pretty good effect, just being able to gain resources off of that and restand this guy to make him essentially a quad strike 25k, which is pretty crazy. So now some important pickups for green going into this next set. You have the SS Vegeta. This is your anti-green card for green. Whenever the card is discarded by an opponent's skill from your hand, you may play it out, and then if you play it out, you get to draw the card. So it essentially just replaces itself. It deems hand destruction a little easier to deal with, but also the fact that it's green means it's main deckable. So even in best of 1, you have the ability to main deck this instead of Deborah. Second card is going to be Majin Buu, Thwarting the Enemy. This is a free counterattack. By spirit boosting 2 markers off of your unison. You play this card out in rest mode. Now, if this card negated a leader attack, your opponent can attack with their leader for the turn, which makes Mechagabora sort of obsolete almost. It definitely hurts Mechagabora, since every color got one of these. Mechagabora is going to become a little less playable going into this next set, just in certain matchups. Then the third one is going to be Broly, Berserker of Frieza's Army. This is a card that comes out for 1 for each extra card in your battle area or drop, which means you can play this off of Anticipated Onslaught in the King Cold deck. This is kind of the card I think they made this card to be played in King Cold. And I think the idea that what they're giving is they want to be able to play the Broly stuff in King Cold. Now, this is a card that gives me hope for future Broly BR sets. Because I would like to see some more support for green Broly. I think it'd be very, very powerful. But being able to play in the King Cold deck is something that I've been testing. I won't go over my list currently, but I do think it's something that could be played in the future. It could be very powerful. Just I think we need a few more cards in order to counteract some of the negative effects of playing the Broly. And that's what I got for you guys today. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. Make sure you guys like and subscribe. As always, hit the bell for notifications, and I will see you guys in the next video.